Hello students. Now we are going to discuss about another important factor or fact of Indian Contract Act 1872. And what is that? It is free consent. So today we'll be discussing about free consent. So here we go. So the meaning of free consent is two or more persons are said to be in consent when they agree upon the same thing in the same sense. Please remember, same thing in the same sense. Consensus ad idem. It means separation of minds or separation of senses is not allowed during the consent. And of course, according to section 14, consent is said to be free when it is not caused by any sort of pressure, coercion, undue influence, fraud, misrepresentation, or mistake. So we need to be very clear about it that free consent is something when the parties are agreed upon something in the same thing, on the same thing in the same sense, without any sort of pressures, domination, influence, fraud, misrepresentations, etc. So there are some 5 points which let us know, which we need to know that the consent is not free if it is caused by coercion, undue influence, fraud, misrepresentation, and mistake. These points make the consent, make the contract voidable, and because of mistake, the contract becomes void. I am very much sure that you all aware of what is voidable contract and what is void contract. So let's move further. When the consent is not free, I have just made one sentence on this so that you can memorize it very nicely, very clearly. Can you find me, madam? So can, coercion, you, undue influence, find, fraud, me, misrepresentation, madam, mistake. So please remember this line so that you can easily remember or recall the 5 elements of the consent which makes the consent not free. So let's talk about coercion. So as per the Contract Act, committing or threatening to commit act forbidden by Indian Penal Code. We need to understand that there are certain acts which are forbidden by the law to perform. If somebody performs those acts, it is called coercion. It means detaining unlawfully or threatening to detain any property is said to be coercion. For example, A threatens to hurt B if he does not sell his house in rupees 5 lakh to A. Here, if even if B sells the house to A, it will not be a valid contract since B's consent is not free, it was obtained by coercion. And of course, the coercion makes the contract voidable. Undue influence. The relationship between the parties in which one party is at the powerful position, dominating position, and the other party is not so much, not powerful, and it is being dominated by the other party. Here, if one party who is in the condition of dominating the will of the another party does or take the advantage of his position, it is called undue influence. For example, the relationship between boss and employee, teacher and students, master and servants, etc. Here, one party is in the position to dominate the will of the another party, and if that party takes the advantage, undue advantage of the particular power, it is called undue influence. And yes, it again makes the contract voidable. Now, fraud, the third element of the consent is not free. Fraud is when a party convinces another to enter into an agreement by making statements that are not true, and he also does not believe it to be true. Again, active concealment of facts. What is active concealment of fact? It means people are knowingly hiding the fact to another party and they are trying to make them fraud. A promise made without intention of performing it. When a party is making any promise which he also knows that he is not going to perform, it is under the fraud. Any other fact which is fitted to deceive is called fraud. This again makes the contract voidable. Misrepresentation. It is also when a party makes a representation that is false, inaccurate, incorrect, etc. The difference here is the misrepresentation is innocent, not intentional. If misrepresentation is intentional, it turns into fraud. Misrepresentation is something where the party himself believes the statement he is making is true, so that it is called misrepresentation. Here, let's take an example. A, while selling his bike, thought that his bike gives the average of 75 kilometers per liter. He also believes it to be true, but after selling the bike, we found that it gives only 65 kilometers per liter. So when the investigation went on, they find out the fact that he himself was unaware the bike's average, and he also believed that his bike gives 75 kilometers per liter average. So that it is not the case of fraud, but it is a misrepresentation. And yes, it again makes the contract voidable. Mistake, the fifth and last element of the free consent. So a mistake is an erroneous belief that is innocent in nature. It leads to a misunderstanding between the parties. So it is important to know that it is something sort of misunderstanding being created among the parties because of any reasons is called mistake. There are some more types of mistake. We'll just move on to that. Before it, I just want to make it clear that effect of mistake is also this makes the contract void. Please remember the previous 4 points make the mistake voidable, make the contract voidable, but the last one, that is mistake, makes the contract void. Here, the flow chart is there. Mistake is divided into two parts: mistake of law, mistake of fact. Mistake of law contains another parts: mistake of the law of the country itself and of the foreign country. Mistake of fact is bilateral mistake and unilateral mistake. Bilateral mistake is again divided into two parts: mistake as to subject matter, mistake as to possibility. Unilateral mistake is as to person, as to nature. Mistake as to subject matter is again divided into 6 more points: existence, identity, quality, quantity, title, and price. And mistake as to possibility, physical impossibility, and legal impossibility. Right? The mistake of law. So when the parties make mistakes to understand the law is called mistake of law. So when it is related to Indian law, means of the country, ignorance of law is no excuse. That is, either party cannot claim that they were unaware of the law, because being the citizen of India, you are required to understand and perform the laws of the country. And if the parties commit any mistakes regarding the understanding of the law, it is not the excusable act, means it is a punishable act. The contract will be void when it is related to foreign law. So as the parties are not expected to know all the foreign legal provisions of all the countries, so, and their meanings, ignorance of foreign law is given some leeway. Remember, only some leeway has been given, not the full consideration. So it is a bit lesser considerable act. Mistake of fact. When because of the differences of the understanding or ignorance, mistake arises from either side, it is a mistake of fact. They can be unilateral or bilateral. So unilateral is when both the parties are committing some mistakes, it's called unilateral. Bilateral mistakes when only one party. I'm so sorry. Just go to back. Unilateral mistake when only one party is at the mistake, not the other one. Bilateral mistake is the one when both the parties are under mistake, is called bilateral mistake. Let's go previous in the flowchart, and some more points are there to understand mistake. So bilateral mistake is something mistake as to subject matter. When the parties are committing mistake to understand the subject matter regarding existence of the subject matter, identity of the subject matter, quality of the subject matter, quantity of the subject matter, title of the subject matter, or price of the subject matter, it is called mistake regarding subject matter. It makes the contract void. Mistake as to possibility. So physical impossibility and legal impossibility. Physical impossibility is something when the contract is not able to perform because of the physical inexistence of the thing is called physical impossibility. And legal impossibility means when, because of law, there is some sort of impossibility arises to perform the contract. It is called legal impossibility. Okay. And unilateral mistake as to person, as to nature, when somebody is not able to identify the right person to contract, or thinks or misunderstood the person correctly, it is called mistake as to person. Mistake as to nature means to understand the nature of the contract. When the person is not able to understand the nature of the contract, it's called mistake as to nature. They all makes mistake void. So I hope this lecture is clear to you. Free consent is very much clear and it is an important part of the Contract Act. So I think all the points are clear to you all. If still there is any query, please comment in the comment section. Thank you. Have a nice day.